June 20th, 1942, Auschwitz concentration camp, German-occupied Poland. The main gate of the deadliest extermination camp in human history is guarded by armed SS soldiers, watchtowers, and electrified fences. No prisoner has ever driven through it. But today, a stolen Steyr 220 sedan approaches the barrier. Inside are 4 men in SS officer uniforms, their faces pale with sweat. One of them leans out and screams in perfect German, "Wake up, you buggers! Open up, or I'll open you up!" The guard snaps to attention. He salutes. He raises the barrier, and the car drives out, carrying not just 4 prisoners, but one of the first detailed reports on the Holocaust to reach the outside world. This escape should have been impossible. This is how they did it. How did 4 starving prisoners, wearing stolen uniforms and driving a commandeered car, simply bluff their way through the most heavily guarded camp in Nazi-occupied Europe? And why did their escape become one of the most important acts of resistance in Holocaust history? Auschwitz in 1942 was designed to be inescapable. According to historical records, the perimeter was secured by 2 lines of electrified barbed wire fences, thousands of SS guards, attack dogs, and watchtowers manned around the clock. The surrounding Polish countryside crawled with German patrols. Local civilians were forbidden from aiding escapees under penalty of death. Since the camp opened in 1940, only a handful of prisoners had ever escaped. Every attempt ended in public hanging and brutal reprisals against the prisoners left behind. But the SS had built something else into their system: routines, predictable, repeating, mechanical routines. And one of those routines gave a prisoner named Eugeniusz Bendera something almost no inmate possessed: daily, unsupervised access to the machines of the SS. That routine would become the escapees' greatest weapon. The mastermind was Kazimierz Piechowski, a 22-year-old Polish engineering student and former Boy Scout. He spoke fluent German. That skill would become the engine of the bluff. The driver was Eugeniusz Bendera, a professional mechanic who worked in the SS motor pool. Every day, he walked into the garage where the camp's officers parked their cars. Every day, he started engines, checked oil, and tightened bolts. He knew exactly how to steal the commandant's vehicle without raising a single alarm. The courier was Stanisław Jaster, a young scout entrusted with a secret report written by a resistance agent inside the camp. The report described the gas chambers and mass murder. If discovered, Jaster would be tortured and killed. The 4th was Josef Lempart, a Catholic monk who served as the group's quiet anchor. Together they formed a unit where every man had a function. The plan would require all 4. Every morning, the SS officers of Auschwitz followed the same patterns. They inspected work details. They supervised arrivals. They drove the same routes in the same cars. Prisoners were divided into work details. Most broke stones or built barracks, but a handful worked inside the heated garage of the SS, a building most inmates never entered. Bendera was one of them. He learned the schedule of the motor pool. He knew which cars were used by which officers. He noticed that, on weekends, the garage was nearly empty, and he discovered that one vehicle, a powerful Steyr 220 sedan, was reserved for senior commanders. That car was never looked. The keys hung on a board inside the garage. To the SS, this was efficiency. To Bendera, it was an open door. The weakness was not in the fences or the guns. It was in the uniforms. The SS relied on discipline and obedience. When an officer gave an order, guards followed without question. No one doubted a man in a well-pressed uniform shouting fluent German. The 4 escapees understood. If they looked like officers, sounded like officers, and drove an officer's car, no one would dare stop them. But looking like an officer meant obtaining caps, shirts, trousers, boots, and armbands. Every piece was inside the camp, guarded by armed men. Smuggling them out would take weeks of silent, life-threatening work. Piechowski spoke German. Bendera had the car. Jaster carried the truth. Lempart kept them steady. The plan was audacious in its simplicity. Dress as the enemy, and the enemy will salute you. The planning took months. Every day carried the risk of discovery. Bendera studied the motor pool's rhythms. He noted which guards worked weekends. He stole a key to the garage, a small piece of metal that could have gotten him hanged. He tested which vehicles started most quietly. The uniforms came piece by piece. Piechowski and the others worked in the camp's laundry and storage rooms, where SS clothing was sorted. A cap here, a shirt there, each item hidden in a different corner of the camp. If a guard had noticed one missing uniform, the escape would have ended before it began. They also secured 4 rifles from a weapons depot, deliberately unloaded to avoid an accidental shot that would bring the entire camp down on them. Jaster received the report from a resistance agent named Witold Pilecki. The document was only a few pages long, but it described gas chambers, crematoria, and the systematic murder of thousands. Jaster folded it into the lining of his jacket. If he was searched, he would die. By mid-June 1942, everything was ready. They just needed the right moment. June 20th, 1942. A Saturday afternoon. Weekends meant fewer SS officers and more relaxed security. Behind a stack of lumber near the workshop, the four men changed into their stolen uniforms. Every second felt exposed. If a guard had rounded that corner, he would have seen 4 prisoners in partial SS clothing, a scene impossible to explain. No one came. They walked separately toward the SS garage, trying not to look at one another. Their uniforms were convincing from a distance, but their faces were pale with fear. Any guard who looked closely might notice the trembling hands, the sweat on their brows, the terrified eyes of men who had not eaten properly in 2 years. No one stopped them. Bendera entered the SS garage alone. He inserted the stolen key into the Steyr 220. He turned it. If the engine failed to turn over, Bendera would be trapped inside the SS garage with a stolen key and no explanation. If another mechanic entered the room, the escape would end before it had even begun. The engine hummed to life. No one came. Piechowski, Lempart, Jaster, and Bendera climbed aboard. They drove slowly toward the main gate. Their hearts pounded. The car passed barracks, watchtowers, groups of prisoners. SS guards barely glanced at them. But the main barrier was still ahead. The main gate of Auschwitz loomed. A wooden barrier blocked the road. An armed guard stepped forward. The car stopped. For a long moment, no one moved. The guard approached. He peered inside. He saw 4 SS officers, a second lieutenant, 2 corporals, and a driver. He saw the insignia of the camp commandant's personal vehicle. Everything looked correct. But the guard did not open the barrier. Piechowski later recalled the terror of that silence. Every second stretched into an eternity. If the guard asked to see their papers, they were finished. If he recognized any of them, they would be shot on the spot. If he waved for backup, the plan was over. The guard studied their faces. One detail, a missing badge, a nervous glance, could have ended everything. From the back seat, Lempert leaned forward and whispered, "Do something." Piechowski exploded. He threw open the door, leaped from the car, and slammed his hand on his holster. In fluent German, he launched into a tirade of military abuse, the kind of shouted orders that SS officers used every day. "Open up, you bugger, or I'll open you up." The guard panicked. His training took over. He snapped his heels together, saluted, and scrambled to raise the barrier. The Steyr 220 rolled forward, through the gate, past the guard, onto the open road. This was the answer to the impossible question. Auschwitz had not been broken from the outside. It had been fooled from within. 4 starving prisoners, wearing stolen wool and a shouted lie, had just driven out of the deadliest camp in human history. But freedom was not safety. Not yet. The car was still a stolen vehicle. The uniforms could still expose them. Every passing car on the road could be a German patrol. Every crossroads could hide a checkpoint. Behind them, the camp might raise the alarm at any moment. They drove 20 miles southeast toward the town of Watchtowers, avoiding main roads and sticking to forest paths. At a pre-arranged spot, they abandoned the Steyr in the woods. From there, they split up, walking separately to avoid capture. If any of them was stopped, the report in Jaster's jacket would be discovered. If any of them talked under torture, all 4 would be hunted. Over the following days and weeks, each man made contact with the Polish underground. Jaster delivered the report. According to later accounts, it became one of the first detailed eyewitness descriptions of Auschwitz to reach Allied intelligence. None of the 4 escapees was ever recaptured. All survived the war. The escape was a public humiliation for the SS. Commandant Rudolf Höss ordered an immediate investigation. Guards were demoted, security was tightened, but the damage was done. The myth of Auschwitz's inescapability had been shattered. Jaster's report reportedly became part of a growing body of evidence later known as the Auschwitz Protocols, testimony that helped convince Allied leaders of the true scale of the Holocaust. It was also cited as evidence at the Nuremberg trials. Yet there's a bitter irony in the fallout. The truth escaped Auschwitz in the summer of 1942, but the outside world was slow to act. Hungarian Jews, for example, were still deported to Auschwitz in 1944, 2 full years after the report left the camp. Rescue efforts that might have saved hundreds of thousands came too late. Piechowski joined the Polish Home Army and fought in the resistance. After the war, he was imprisoned again. this time by Poland's communist regime, before rebuilding his life as an engineer. He died in December 2017 at the age of 98. So what made these four men different? Not firepower, not escape tunnels, not luck. They understood a simple truth. A system built on blind obedience can be defeated by a confident lie. They did not break the walls of Auschwitz. They walked through the front door, and the guards saluted them on the way out. In a place designed to erase everything, names, faces, memories, they stole one thing back: the truth. And the truth, once spoken, could not be silenced again.